And welcome to another recording of the Content Marketing Studio. We're back with another season to help you create better online content faster. Today, I'm going to put the spotlight on yet another communications expert to look at ways to build your brand online and drive sales for your business. I am your host, Pascal Fintun, and joining me today is none other than marketing mentor and trainer, Michelle Rose. Michelle, welcome to the Content Marketing Studio.
Hi, Pascal. Thank you so much for having me.
So, do you know, this has now become the number one way for me to keep in touch with all my friends, associates, and colleagues.
That's fantastic. You have a chat and get to sort of train and teach people at the same time. Love it.
Yes. So, Michelle, quick question for you, two, should I say. Where are you and how are you all doing right now?
Oh, well, I am in our loft office at home in Concert, which is in the northeast of England. So actually not too far from you, sort of the other side of the big hill that separates us.
That's right.
Really. So I'm at home. It's half term, so all of my kids are at home as well. And me and my hubby are both self-employed with pretty much now after lockdown online businesses. So doing the parent self-employed person juggle at the moment.
And we all know that it can't be easy at all. So we'll talk actually about, how what you've done to maybe adapt your business practices. But for our viewers and listeners, reminder that Michelle is the founder of Michelle Rose Marketing, the business previously known as Custard and Bear, which I must ask about. Michelle is passionate about small businesses and startups and women who have left their career to start a business around their young families. So lots to talk about. But to begin with, what happened to Custard and Bear?
Well, nothing really happened to Custard and Bear. I've just celebrated my 9th business birthday, which was, when you think my kids are 7, 10 and 11, my business was really another baby. I started it when I was pregnant with my daughter, and my two boys were babies, really. So Custard and Bear sort of matured. It was a gradual maturing into Michelle Rose Marketing. And it was a reflection of that for the majority of the business, Pascal, I had helped my clients. I'd implemented their marketing for them. So me as Michelle, I was sort of hidden and invisible. It was my clients were doing their marketing. It was theirs to be proud of. I was in the back seat and hidden, so to speak. And then I was struggling. Loved it, but it was also a lot of work. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners who are content managers or content creators, there's that feeling slightly that being 10 different people in a day actually becomes quite tiring, and they're thinking, oh my god, have I implemented the wrong sort of Instagram strategy for the wrong client? So I had a big sit down and talk to myself and thought, right, now actually everything that I've learned over the past 8 years, the way that I've taught my clients marketing, I think it's time to take that out into the world and teach it as me now. So that was where I lost Custard and Bear, which I love that name and people remember it. And it was my little boys' nicknames at the time. And now it's me front and center, teaching, training, mentoring. And it's been amazing, but also slightly terrifying, because sometimes it's much easier to sit behind your clients. So it's Custard and Bear are still there. I've got little teddy bears and giraffes because that was my logo all over the house. But now it's Michelle Rose Marketing, and it's been a good, but I'm sure, as other listeners would understand, a good but a bit of a tumultuous journey as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have any qualms in terms of using your own name? Because I did. I mean, I come from corporate, so my kind of default was to have an obscure name, a very elegant logo and the strap line, and then hide behind it. And it was in fact my web designer, when we were about to launch my website and I had a fancy, trade name, he said, "Did you realize that when you check, the keyword research and so on, everybody's looking for you. The search term is not whatever phrase you've come up with, it's your name." And honestly, this was 2011, and I felt so uncomfortable and awkward using my name. And now I wouldn't think twice, of course. Did you have any qualms as well?
Not really,
Oh,
but I
good,
find it
good.
really interesting that you did, because when I see you on stage and it's people like, please introduce Pascal Fintoni, our host. And so I would have thought it would have felt actually quite natural to you. So
No.
that's really interesting, that little bit of insight. I met Kieran, my husband, 20 years ago. We were a holiday romance. She was called Kieran Rose.
Where are you?
So we met on in Corfu in Kos. If anyone's ever been to Kos and Kos, it's like Blackpool with sunshine. There's like no Greek culture or anything. So, but we were a proper holiday romance. I keep saying we should sell our story, and we did make it onto the One Show though with our story. So we have had some PR about it. That was off one tweet as well. I do some talking about that in some training, that one tweet, one random tweet about the demise of Club 1830. And I'd tweeted and said, I bet not many people met their husband on a Club 1830 holiday, and a producer from BBC's The One Show picked it up. Then I got a direct message, and literally within 24 hours, we were in a Greek restaurant down in Darlington, being filmed, being fed Greek food and Greek beer, and there we were on the telly a few days later.
There's a fun example of newsjacking. There's one.
So I like trying to like a bit of crazy marketing. I'm sorry, but I totally went off on a tangent there. But I married Kieran because he had a beautiful name, Kieran Rose, and so Michelle Rose. And it was a bit of it's such a beautiful name.
It is.
And roses signify to a lot of people love and Valentine's Day, and my whole brand is built around love and hearts and pinkness, and it fit. And like you, I realized that people, in a lovely way, not in a like a egotistical big-headed way, but people met me and remembered me, and as much as I remembered Custard and Bear, they did remember Michelle Rose as well. So it felt natural. It felt like
super.
Felt a little bit like stepping into myself. And I think that that's a really important point maybe to make, that you're mid-40s, you've been self-employed for like nearly 10 years, and it takes you 10 years to step into that confidence, to think, I can do this. I'm brave enough to put myself front and center. It's like, there's a lovely quote I love from Brené Brown, and she says, if you're not in the arena getting your ass kicked, then I'm not interested in your feedback. So it's like, now it's time to get into the arena now and just give it my best shot.
Absolutely. And this reflection, which again is to help our viewers and listeners also to reflect. I would say that in the 10, 11 years now, 10 years for me running my business, I may have adjusted 3 times in that time. So, and I would say, like you, on occasion, I will do workshops and mentoring session for startups and new businesses. And I say to them, the duration that we're together, if it's a mentoring program and we're together for a few weeks and a few months, you have my permission to change your minds a lot. Okay. And literally, like, you can tell me in day 1, this is my business, this is my customer, this is the offer. And by day 3, I'm happy for you to come back and say, I've changed my mind.
Yeah. And I've been saying a lot recently to people, who makes the rules? Because people come, what should I post on Facebook? How should I do my Instagram? And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, Facebook, Google don't give us the algorithm, right? They won't give us the rule book. So you have to play it in a way by your own rules. And I saw that a lot with COVID, people sort of saying, well, this is my business and this is what I do and I can't change it. And I'm like, just blooming change it. There's no rules. And I've seen a lot of people during lockdown actually make, and I'm not putting aside the people who have struggled, and I've got friends who are in hospitality and own pubs and seen the utter heartbreak and devastation, Pascal. But I have seen the other side of it, of people pivot and let go of some stuff in their business that was holding them back, that they thought they had to do. So a lovely example would be a client who is a French tutor teaching adults, was in the community and didn't know if it would work online because of the age of her students, but she coached them and she taught them through it, and lost the cost of the community centres, and actually found at the end of the year her turnover was up 68%, with a massive knock-on increase on profit because she wasn't paying for community centres and venue hire, and she was able to attract more people online. And the uplift in confidence that's given her, she was like, well, if I can do this online, then I don't just have to teach people in the Northeast. I can put a French program, a self-study one that people could buy. And she's had another idea, which is top secret, which I can't give away. But I know, and I've seen that, talking about me and you stepping into our confidence. It's been lovely to see a lot of clients during lockdown have the confidence to change their business and actually create something that they do love, and that is now, that love is coming across in their marketing.
Yeah, and I would agree. We're going to talk about this in a moment, but before we do so, I wanted to ask you about your business and your own practices and services, and whether they've been adjusted and adapting to current times.
Yeah, definitely. So the past sort of, I was a little bit like you. I delivered for clients, came up with strategies, implemented, or like you, and then I changed a couple of times. And then I started to train for other organizations. You know, they would do the promotion, the people would come, you'd have a nice room of delegates and you would train. And I adored that. I loved that. The problem I have with that is that I suffer from chronic back pain and don't have a lot of feeling in one of my legs. So actually standing and delivering training all day was physically very, very tiring. So, you know, when you get torn between what do I want to do, and through sort of all of the changes and the pivots, the one thing I'd wanted to do was take my business online and support not even necessarily micro businesses, but teeny tiny businesses, often businesses that were set up to bring in a part-time income. Because sort of my belief is that a lot of people have the skills to do what they do, but just because they're like, oh, I've got a brilliant business idea and it's valid, doesn't mean they've got any marketing knowledge to even make that work. So that, you know, to help those teeny tiny businesses who, you know, probably would cost me and you nothing to sign up to an online program or buy an online course, but I wanted to create somewhere online where people would trust me and invest in a little course and help them take baby steps. And I have wanted to do this for years. And anyone who's listening who knows me has been like, right, 2016, it's the year I'm going online. 2017, it's the year I'm going online. When I was 40, I was like, this is my year. No, it took me till lockdown. And Kieran, my husband, he said, randomly, Michelle, lockdown did me the world of good because, you know, in our office, it was a sort of office that was a bit like London King's Cross Station. People were always knocking on the door and dropping in for a cup of tea. And it was lovely to be that hub. But when you're only working between school run hours anyway, which I've always done, and you've had 3 cups of tea and catching up with mates who run their own businesses, you get nothing done. So suddenly to be able to, in a way, cut out the whole world meant that selfishly, is that the right word? That selfishly I was able to start to build the foundations of Michelle Rose's marketing school. And now, because of having that, I think that brain space as well during lockdown, marketing school exists. There's free programs, courses, there's ones to buy. And I'm right in the middle now of delivering my first ever, it's called Love Your Marketing Live. And it's my first ever live marketing program with 6 weeks of training, then an extra 4 weeks of community support on the end. And I've got 12 amazing students on that, and I feel, well, you can see, look at my grin. I feel blessed, and to know that I'm now not going to get to 2021 and go, this will be the year, because 2020 actually was the year that I finally took my business online. And I will mentor, and I'd still love to speak, but it has to be in short bursts because of health reasons. So it's changed, Pascal, because it's enabled me to create not only what I wanted to create, but actually something that works for me through health reasons as well, rather than always feeling like I've got to push through it. I've got to stand on that stage and deliver that training with a big smile, even though my legs are literally like this, you know. So what do you think of that word selfish? Is that a good word in this context? Is it the right word?
I'm going to change it slightly to self-awareness. And only because in a way, you know, you are the custodian of, you know, the journey of that business. I mean, essentially, I was saying to my customers, play the game of being accountable to a board of directors. So, you know, Michelle Rose, the director, was putting pressure on Michelle Rose, the employee, to come up with solutions, because the board of directors is going to give you a hard time
Yeah,
if you were not coming. And I think that what for many of us, you know, and I reflect, I'm listening to you thinking, yeah, she's right, because I've been able to actually get things off the to-do list that have been on that list forever
yeah,
in the last 6 months. Finally, the sales brochures of my dreams, finally bringing filmmaking into my coaching, you know, all the things that were on the periphery that didn't really hinder progress in a business, but I didn't feel like I was expressing fully what I stood for and what I could do. And
yeah.
I'm literally 2 weeks away from completing stuff as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's lovely to hear that we've been busy, but we've been busy on the right stuff.
Yeah.
And I talk a lot about people being busy fools. And I say, and I put my hand up to them and I'm saying, that's not me preaching at you, because I can be the busiest of busy fools. But to have that time, that self-awareness to say, actually, what do I want to do? And it it was a challenge actually during lockdown to create a program that was, compared to some online programs, not a huge amount of money, £297, but for my type of client it was a big investment. I could have sold it at less, but I wanted people to really invest so that they would honor that and they would show up and they would do the work. So to launch that and sell that, I'd started to sell it just as the schools were going back, really. And there was a lot of resistance, people saying, well, you can't sell it and it's not the right time and you shouldn't. And well, should I not? And should I hold back? And I'm like, no, it is. I'm quite often, I would be the board of directors to my clients and say, well, why not? What's holding you back? The world deserves your work, get it out there. So it was nice for once to tell me what I tell my clients, because I always say I'm a bit like, it's like the story of the cobbler's daughter who's always got the worst shoes in the class. And the marketing person's always the one with I mean, the amount of times I've turned up to networking without business cards and I'm like, oh God, I'm the marketing person.
Yeah, I remember once I was presenting my very first event. I presented in the early 2000s. I remember being so nervous, and the host took good care of me. He told me afterwards, I could tell you were nervous. So and he had a business card. They say, if you ever have questions about public speaking, here's my card. And the card was terrible. I mean, it was absolutely terrible business card. But at the back of it, he said, you know, if you think my business card is terrible, you're right, but I'm too busy working to be famous. And I remember that forever, because I was thinking, so, and I've used it a few times, right? Saying, I'm sorry, yes, you're right, my blog is a bit late, but I'm too busy, you know, working to be famous. But you mentioned the term love, or the noun love, a few times. So let's get into that. Here's a scenario for you. My work is to encourage people to create better content faster, to build an online brand, to deal with nervousness, with, you know, self-doubt and so on, to become self-belief and the eagerness to create content. But over the last 2 or 3 years, I've been a little concerned that the manner in which people approach content marketing and marketing in general has become more of a chore. It's become mechanical. It's become more about learning the formulas and the hacks and the tricks than actually that real human understanding, human connection. And you have this wonderful, wonderful sentence in your LinkedIn profile. Well, the reason I've invited you today, which is that, you know, you're all about getting people started with their marketing and then for them to fall in love with it. I want to get straight into that, because I think that it is highly, I could put it, you know, right and deserving someone to actually love doing their own marketing. But how do we do that? How do we avoid? And I'm going to add to that. Sorry. How do we do that when we are feeling maybe a little fatigued by the lockdown measures and the stress and the all the juggling that you do as a family? How do we fall in love with our marketing, stay in love with it, and then do the most amazing work?
Do less.
Okay.
I know it sounds probably really counterintuitive, but the amount of times I see clients who are trying to sell all the things to all of the people all of the time, and they are so exhausted. And I've been accused a little bit of, I think, sometimes trying to dumb down when I tell people to do less, or, you know, that it's okay to even pull your financial goal down a little bit to make it more realistic and actually more achievable, so that when you're doing your work, when you're doing your marketing, the pressure's off a little bit and you're enjoying it so much more. There's nothing worse than seeing someone who's got this awesome business idea, and like you said, they're just trudging through the monotony of churning out content after content. And I'll get someone to maybe show me their marketing plan, and it's Facebook, Instagram. Well, actually, I must do this and I must do that and I must do. And what you said before about that to-do list, really, all of the must-dos, they never do, because they get so stressed out about it. They just spend hours like scrolling on Facebook and Instagram and pretending it's marketing, and then just doing sort of, I think you said you saw that sort of more of a flatness, and I see a little bit more of a desperation, like, I better post, I better put this out there, I better let you know that I'm still here. And the whole, like, you know, if you don't like my posts, then Facebook will remove them, sort of thing. And I'm like, please stop doing those. So I like people to do less, to really know what their goal is, to be accountable to themselves that every single piece of marketing that they do, no matter how small, they get some emotion in there. It doesn't have to be love. We've got to play on people's emotions. That's really cynical, but people buy generally because of an emotional reason. So we need to play into that emotion and do less, so that we enjoy what we do, and it doesn't become, you know, it doesn't become a chore, if that makes sense. And I try and really get people to do less so that they achieve more. And I'm like, I want you to do your marketing so that when it's done, it's done. You know, you can actually, my sort of little proviso is, if you tell me how many mindless hours you spend on social media a week and you're willing to top those up, I bet I can get you doing a really good marketing plan that you love, that you will implement in less time than that. And then you can do your physio with Vicky, or go for your walk, or do the extra special things. And yeah, that's what I'm pushing for. And I have had quite a lot of battles with probably some people who will be listening to this. There's a few people that come to mind, because I'm there in training going, no, you don't need to do Facebook. No, drop Twitter. And like, what do you want to be on LinkedIn for? A battle actually with a very close business friend of mine, who you'll know, Nicola Jane Little from Mini Business Club, because I'm not on LinkedIn. And that does her head in, and just like, you need to be on LinkedIn. I'm like, but my clients don't hang out on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn just is like, it sucks the energy out of me. So we have this constant battle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going where I love, I'm going where I'm happy, I'm going where my personality shines out. And if I can, you know, show that to my clients, then it's all well and good. So I hope that made some sense. Do less and enjoy what you do, and just stop stressing about it. And I will shut up in a minute, I promise. Sorry, listeners.
No, you're the guest. You're here to talk.
So my big it's not my line, and a lot of people have used it, and I think as well, I'm trying to think of the lady's name from Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg, has used it quite famously. But the line that people remember me from, even from back in Custard and Bear days, is done, not perfect. You know, I would rather you get your marketing done in all of its imperfect glory than not get it done. So, point in fact, I was booked on to come and talk to you. Totally thought it was 2:00 this afternoon. Was about to put the kettle on at 1:00 and put my makeup on, so I looked all nice. And my husband went at 1:00. Michelle, what are you doing? I'm having a cup of tea before I chat to Pascal. He went, yeah, and then so I've got no the panic. I've got no makeup on. I'm like, so yeah, I'm here with you, done not perfect. But I often say to my clients, no one's ever said to me, Michelle, I was going to book you for a mentoring session, but I watched your video and do you know what? Your eyeliner wasn't very good and your lipstick wasn't perfect. Like, no one's ever said that to me. No one's ever, the only person who proof checks my emails is my mum, who replies to every email and tells me all of
She.
my typos. I've got people on my program and I know that there will have been typos in my email, but no one's come and said, well, I was going to pay you £297 for the program, but you had a typo in that paragraph. So, you know, I wish you hadn't sent that email because it spoiled the whole experience. It done not perfect is better than waiting for it to be perfect and just never getting it out there.
Yeah. Do you know, listening to you reminds me, I mean, so if we go back to your advice, do less, and it's not, being facetious. I know what you're saying. You're saying in the process, you'll have more space to truly discover what form of marketing is right for you. But also importantly, in the context of content creation, you have to discover through experimentation, but you need space for that, what kind of content creator you are
Yeah.
and your tone of voice. You can't do that if you have a marketing plan that is literally maxing out your time and in the process actually probably doing a large proportion of activities you don't like at all.
Yeah, I mean, just still even now, encouraging people to take a selfie, you know, a nice one. So, or getting a ring light with a little button that will take a photo of them. Or to go live on Facebook. The terror. I mean, I have had to get people into the program, say to them, it's okay not to come on Zoom on the training. You know, you don't have to be on the camera. You can just have a black screen. I don't want to be on video. I don't want to be on video.
Mm.
So I've got to when I really think, say, someone should be on video, like really gently walk them through the steps to get them there and get them to practice. And there's so many options out there, Pascal. You can write blogs, you can do live videos, you can do pre-recorded videos, you can do your Instagram stories. Now there's reels, there's so many options, and people just get overwhelmed. And then there's that bright shiny object syndrome, isn't there? And I say to people, well, you can't change because you haven't given that plan the time to embed. And I would try and encourage people to maybe think of 5 things that they can do over the course of, I teach people in half terms because most of my clients are parents of school age children. So right, do it for 6 weeks, then we'll have a break and we'll review it. Then do it for another 6 weeks and we'll have a break and we'll review it. And it's just that sense of calm that comes when they're like, right, so I've just got to write one blog a week and I've just got to send one email or whatever. Like, that's it. That's all you've got to do. Just do that. And then put your creativity into writing the blog because you're really good with your written words. Well, forget about video because when I put a camera anywhere near you, you just turn into a lump of jelly. So let's just concentrate on what you're good at and let's find your strengths and see where we can pull out those strengths to feed into your marketing. And like I said before, someone setting up a business isn't a natural all-round marketeer, but I'm going to find a strength where they're better at writing. Have they got an eye for photography? Are they really good on camera and talking? They can't be good at everything. So they can't do every type of content creation, I don't think. And so I would rather they find that creativity and hone that energy and put it into something can really make the best of that one or 2 areas and shine because they deserve to shine.
Yes, and I must remind, sorry, our viewers, listeners, I started a few decades ago, and suddenly
So,
when we didn't have the internet, we didn't go around advertising in every single magazine going. We didn't go around trying to secure a spot on every single radio. We went for one or two, and we squeeze, value out of it. So linking up back to 2020 and onwards is a part of falling in love with your marketing to also make sure that you nurture the content. So if we take the example of the blog post, what I find people do, they will write it and they will have the blast in the process, publish it promoted maybe the once on Facebook and then move on to the next one. I'm thinking, oh, what a shame. Maybe this article needs to be loved and cared for the for the next few weeks and few months, and
Yeah.
remind people of its existence.
Yeah, and I say to people, so if someone's if they're really good at their blog and writing, I'm like, you've got to imagine this is your favorite book, and you know it chapter by chapter, and each blog's a chapter, and you know how each chapter, each lesson you're given helps somebody. So I would say, for example, maybe rather than spending endless hours scrolling on Facebook or Instagram, you go in the Facebook group where you know that you can help people, where it's your right target audience, and just search the keywords from your blog, whatever they are, and then look for the posts that have come up in the past week or so, and then go in. If there's a thread, can anybody help me with? Has somebody got some advice on? And you're like, oh, I'd love to help you. I've got a blog here. It gives you loads of free tips and ideas. We know there's probably a freebie or a funnel attached to that blog, but you don't have to say that. You just give freely and you put that content out there. And I can do that with sort of a lot of my blogs. And I say, so just go in, look, like sort of not dump it and run, but leave it with grace and goodwill and put it out that you know that it's going to help someone. And then if there's nothing else in that group, leave that group and go on to the next group. And just every day, you know which groups you like to be in, you know which groups your ideal person hangs out in. So have a rota of them. Every day I go on a Monday, I go into that group. On a Tuesday, I go into that group. If there's nothing, there's nothing. And then maybe the same with hashtags or, depending on where people hang out, are they Insta? But you look for ways to, give extended life to this blog post. You've gone through the creative process, you've given birth to it, you've put graphics on Canva. The last thing you want to do is scrumple it up and chuck it away like fish and chip shop paper. It absolutely deserves to live. And Kieran, who's my hubby, has a blog. He's the autistic advocate, and he doesn't have a huge amount of posts on his blog, but he's had well over 1 million hits now. And let's just say there's 40 blog posts on his blog. There's 10 that are out and out the most popular, the most well read, and some of those now are over 3 years old. So in 2020 he'll publish his book of essays, with each essay being based on one of the 10 most popular blog posts. And I mean, that's taken us by storm. Kieran just started to blog as a way to help him deal with the grief of losing his dad, and now there's going to be a book next year. But if that shows the answer to your question, that yes, content should be nurtured and loved, and if you put it out there with love and you know how it's going to help your perfect person, then keep it. Does that sound quite cynical? Milk it, keep it going for as long as possible.
What indeed, I mean, back in the days of print, when I printed my 2000 brochures to sell holidays to Corfu, I didn't actually. Mine was Turkey as a destination in my younger days for first choice holidays. If you remember that, that was a long time ago. We want to make sure that those brochures were used and used and used, and we want to use all of them. And I think sometimes with digital, we lose track of that, so it's fascinating.
We lose track of that obviously we always say people buy people, but I think sometimes when, for all we're incredibly well connected now, do we lose that connection somehow, that in-depth connection of I've really been, I was saying before to you, I think before we started, about how frustrating I'm getting with Facebook, because I think it's trying to be all things to all people, and Facebook has been my home. I published a workbook about it to help people get started about it quite some years ago now, but it's been the place where I've loved it and adored it and grown my business on it, and now it's changing all of the time. And I decided, my mum asked me if I would sell her sofa on Facebook. So, just in the local concert buy and sell, brilliant, sell it, no fee. People
I think I saw it.
Give you the cash, a nice grey one. So I put it up, and Facebook was like, would you like to boost this post? I'm like, but and I think they'd obviously seen the value of it. It was a nice couch, and she wanted about half of £300 back for it. So I thought, you buggers, because that's quite valuable, you're not going to push it out to anybody unless I now pay. This isn't eBay. This is a concert marketplace where I get to sell stuff for free. So suddenly yesterday, Facebook was eBay. So that frustration of mine has led me to look at what vintage marketing I do, what old-fashioned, what offline marketing I do. And I've got these like massive lever arch folders with a little file for every client. And I used to just pick up the phone and talk to people just randomly, and I've stopped doing that. And I wasn't trying to sell anything to them. They were like, what do you want? And I'm like, I'm just ringing to have a chat. And maybe I should do that and turn it into a podcast,
I think you
Pascal, because that's how
should.
you're like chatting to your clients now. But these are old-fashioned. How bad is it that they're old-fashioned? These person-to-person, in-person, real life types of marketing, we've forgotten about them, and yet they're customer service as well, I think, has often just been. I've had some terrible customer service over COVID. I mean, like shocking customer service, and people, if people just put. Customer service is always a big one in my marketing plan. How do you look after people? How do you nurture them? How do you keep them? How do you get them coming back? How do you get them coming back and spending more? How do you get them coming back with a friend and going, you need to sell to her because like she's going to love your stuff. You need to stop putting all of your effort into getting the customer and then forgetting about them. And I've seen that a lot during some of the bigger players, you know, the high street stores and things over lockdown. Pull me back, Mr. Horse, because I feel like I'm going off on a tangent.
No, but I think
I'm like, what's she talking about?
it's something that I've seen. Yeah, something that I've seen as a sign of things to come for the likes of you and I and many others out there as part of our community of marketing mentors, where the debate, discussion around customer service is going to become more prominent, and we have to make space for that, because ultimately, well, it was a very safe prediction. I said by 2020, customer service will become the new marketing. What I meant by that was saying the way you perform will be essentially shared by others, and that becomes the marketing, as opposed to any clever hacks on Facebook you can think of. Now, Michelle, unfortunately, our time together is nearly coming to an end. It always goes very fast.
Oh my.
So before I let you go, to begin with, a big thank you to kind of share your views on how we can fall in love again, if not for the first time, with our marketing, by being essentially kinder to ourselves and relying on, obviously, our vision to come through. But I've got a bit of a fun quiz I'd like you to take part in, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we'll say our goodbyes to our viewers and listeners. So let me begin with question number one. If you could have a Zoom call with a famous person, perhaps from the world of business, science, or entertainment, who would you have on the call?
That's I'd have to have two if I was allowed to, but
Are
they're
you
in
allowed to?
similar industries. I would have Jack Mitchell from Mitchell's Richards, the department store just outside of New York, over in the States. And I would have Stanley Marcus, the founder of Neiman Marcus, again, another big American brand, because they both built amazing retail stores with on customer service. That's all it was, with looking after people, with knowing people's names, with remembering the names of their dogs, with, always being willing to go the extra mile, not to be taken advantage of, but doing the right thing for the customer at the right time. And both of their books are just works of how to look after people. And I would love to have both of them over for dinner.
Great. No, it's a Zoom call. Sorry, you can't have dinner just yet.
Oh,
But
social
but
distance.
we may come to that. So
Maybe one day.
yeah, can't be just work all the time. So let's say that you could have your own private concert, maybe via Facebook Live, for you and the family. Which band or artist would play for you?
That's the easiest question ever. Bare Naked Ladies, the Canadian band, and we have seen them loads, and we were meant to see them in the Royal Albert Hall in October. They haven't played the Royal Albert Hall for 19 years. And so they'd rescheduled for November, but obviously still not. So it's rescheduled again for next year. And all of the family love them, and they're just the best. And they started really early doing, Ed, the lead singer, started doing a little sort of like lockdown jams in his log cabin from lockdown in Canada. And it really kept my spirits up in the early days. So if you can sort that one, forever
Well,
in
all
debt.
these requests will be sent out in and around Christmas, and we'll see what we can do.
Been a
So,
really good girl this year, so fingers crossed.
so since you're having the pleasure of this concert, let's get some food organized. So, what food would you order for you and the family?
Oh my god, is it really pizza? It's so really easy and really obvious. We all like being together, and we like going to the cinema. And because we haven't been able to go to the cinema during lockdown, we'll order in pizza as a treat, and we get like all of the stools and all of the puffs and everything in the living room and line it all up, and then we put a movie on and shut the curtains, and it's become we did it for Kieran's birthday a couple of weeks ago. So just pizza and a movie, me, Kieran, and the kids, and I can't think of anything more perfect.
Oh, absolutely. Superb. Now, if you could have your own radio show, what would you talk about and who would be your co host?
Oh my god, that's I think I would actually like to do a really, really upbeat program on women's mental health and all of the things that come with being a woman in your 40s, but make it really upbeat and fun. And I might have to ask, who would I ask to be my co-host? Do you know who I love actually? I love Lauren Laverne, who's now doing Desert Island Discs, and she's a Geordie, and I really love her. And she interviewed Samantha Morton, the actress, who I had not heard her story, and she is an incredible woman. So one of probably Lauren actually, because she's a northern lass like me.
Okay. Again, we
That was
send.
a hard question, Pascal.
I
I like the way
know.
you don't tell me you're going to ask us these.
So let me wrap up on this last question for you. All this will be behind us at some stage and we'll be able to travel more freely. So where would you like to go with you and the family?
I probably, like a lot of the listeners, sort of during the course of my life, have had some treatment, depression, and mental health issues. And one of the best things I can do to calm myself down and remind myself that things are going to be okay is just sit quietly, and I close my eyes and I can see a little house on a beach. It's on a Greek island. I don't know which one. It's really close to the sea. I can hear the noises of a village waking up, but I can't see anybody at either side. Little sort of like a deck that leads down to the beach, and I'm sat on the deck, and it's early morning and my feet are in the sand and it's warm, and there's a tap on my shoulder, and it's Albie, my little boy, who's figured out how to make me a cup of tea, and he brings me a cup of tea and he sits next to me in the sand, and then behind us we can just hear the noise of the rest of the family waking up. And I don't know where it is, but I know it's in Greece and I know it's there. And I really hope that when we get over this, that me and Kieran can take the kids and we can just take them out and we can just have some time together as a family somewhere. Me and Kieran met in Greece, we got married in Greece, and we're desperate to take the kids there. So thank you for letting me share that. I've got a
Oh, no,
tinkle.
it's
That was
lovely.
lovely.
Thank you so much. Well, listen, Michelle, what a pleasure to have you on the Content Marketing Studio. It's been a pleasure to catch up with you. If obviously listeners have more questions for you, where can they go to find out more about Michelle Rose on the interweb?
Really easy. www.michellerosemarketing.com, and they will see a freebie, a pop-up. They can sign up and get 5 easy marketing ideas. That gets them inside to marketing school, where there's lots of other freebies as well. And at the moment, I'm busy promoting my Christmas gift guide for all of my amazing clients and showing off what they've got to offer. So someone said it was like the Argos catalogue reborn.
Yes, it shall be missed next year, because
Yeah, it
this is
will
the last
be.
year, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So anyone drop me a question. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help. It would be a joy.
Oh, super. Well, thank you again. And to you, our viewers and listeners, thank you for your support. Please leave comments, suggestions, and feedback in the usual places. Until the next one, go out there and make sure your content is better and faster. Bye for now.